Ain't it old? Melo is your tech visitor's girl, Melody Tensei. And this is a very, very old device. So let's ask ourselves this old question. Is this an iPhone? No, it's not. So this right here is an iPod Touch 4th generation. So iPod Touch 4G as we call it in short. And I had great fond memories with this device, primarily because this was what introduced me to iOS. So a little backstory here, but I don't think you guys will be that interested, even though you click into this video wanting to know about my history. Imagine this, Papa Mel and Mama Mel wanted to get me a birthday present, and they have this very weird of wanting to get me the coolest thing at the time. However, instead of getting me an iPhone, they chose to get me an iPod Touch, because it was cheaper than an iPhone. See, I told you it was quite an unimpressive story. But nonetheless, the good part about having an iPod Touch is it's got more or less the same things that you get out of an iPhone, just without cellular, and it does pretty much a lot of stuff that iPhones can, but without the ability to call, because there's no cellular in there. Oh, it doesn't start. Oh, it's dead. Well, this is what happens when you don't film a video for 4 months straight. Let's get it charged up. I got myself this really old cable. I got this back when I used to have an iPhone 4S, and surprisingly, it's still with me. And it has yellowed. God, that was terrible. Oh, look! Look, guys! It's very faint, but you guys can see it's charging. So surprisingly, this thing is alive. Oh my god, it turned on that quick. I'm not even done talking yet. Hello? What? What? What the fuck? I have never seen something like this happen. Oh, we're going again. Is it gonna turn on? Come on. I feel like I'm learning from Dankpots. Just clicking my fingers on that device. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Wade. You influenced me. Come on. Wake up. Wake up! Okay, let's try not be harsh. This device is a bad... What? No, not again! Not again! Why? Okay, let's keep it this way for now. Who knows, it'll turn back on in a... We just talked about it! Okay, let's just continue yapping. So, a few years after, I've also learned about this very interesting thing called jailbreaking. It was also when I discovered that tinkering was very much my favorite thing to do at the time. And it was fun to solve problems. Are you dead again? Yup, you're dead again. When will you wake up anyways? Oh, here we go again. God damn it. So anyways, I discovered that I love solving problems that existed either because of limitations or people just don't feel like programming it into. So one of my favorite things was I want to play a game that had local network multiplayer. So I thought maybe I should host my own mini hotspot from this iPod. But if you think about it, you can only host a hotspot in iOS when you have cellular connection, which this iPod does not, but the iPhone does. So how do I get around solving this problem? So I found out that there's a tweak that you can use in Cydia, which is the biggest package manager for jailbreaking in the old days. Shout out to you guys who remember Cydia. Also, 07 to Soric, great work. You may rest. Also, this thing has been going on and off. What are you doing? Okay, I plugged into somewhere better. Hopefully this boots up this time. I don't know what's happening with my power supply. But anyways, I realized that by jailbreaking, it allows me to install this tweak and I can do whatever the heck I want. And that was kind of a weird sense of freedom to an extent, if you ask me. And it kind of feels like I've never turned back. Well, not really. I did restore multiple times and then I come back to it every time. And jailbreaking on and off was kind of fun in my opinion. Oh, it booted! I heard the charging sound! Hell yeah! Let's go! Oh, that felt satisfying. Hey, Cydia! I will never forget about you, fuck. Although the servers are dead, but who knows? Maybe it will work again? Let's see. Well, it's serviceable, I guess. Well, maybe some repos are still up, who knows? Yeah, I would pretty much expect it from the death of Cydia. But there seems to be a lot of things that you can still do on this iPod with Cydia installed. So, truth be told, I don't really regret jailbreaking the old iPod. Although it is a little stressful when you're jailbreaking modern phones, especially with my bank, whom we're gonna be calling Omnis Bank A. Curse you, Bank A! If you want more context, check out my Razer phone video. But that aside, this iPod has been still a very well capable device. So if you guys want me to do experiment video for a video idea, please let me know in the comments below, because I will look forward to trying out some stuff. But make sure it better be interesting, not just something simple as, oh, changing a theme. And speaking of changing the theme, that's my second favorite thing to do after jailbreaking. So changing themes kind of gave out that new weird sense of vibes. So for you Android people, imagine changing launchers and imagine changing icon packs. That was literally something new, at least for iOS users back in iOS 4, 5, 6, so forth. It was kind of a game changer to the iPhones, because iOS was and still is a very restrictive platform. So figuring out some of the tweaks and hacks kind of fascinated me, and it makes me want to do more tweaking to this. Unfortunately, nowadays I don't really do that, because my daily driver iPhone 12 Pro Max unfortunately is also my bank mobile, which means jailbreaking is not really the answer for me anymore. However, I do sideload, but not for many apps. Just like small things that changes small things. I don't really want to sideload something massive that could become catastrophic emotionally when I accidentally change from sideloadly to alt store to side store to sideloadly again. But that aside, tangents aside, this iPod Touch has been very important to me in the past, primarily because it was my primary entertainment device before I had those phones that I have mentioned in the past. And it does pretty much everything. At the time, if you're wondering what phone I was using a Sony Ericsson. I don't remember which model it is, but I'll stick some of the images of some of the Sony Ericsson phones that I used in the past that I can probably to an extent confirm that I have indeed used by my memory. But I was using a Sony Ericsson phone in the past as my daily driver mobile phone. That was before the smartphone era, at least for myself. But the iPod was sort of a transition to smartphones for me, where I learned to familiarize with a smartphone operating system and understand how smartphones do things differently from old Java mobile phones. Like, you interact with what's called applications. Sure, applications do exist back in Sony Ericsson, Nokia phones, but the things that it can do on iOS was a lot more than those. So that was what fascinated me and wanted to discover more. Hence why I wanted a jailbreak at the time. And the next thing that I wanted to discover was kind of sort of weird and interesting. So fast forward to a couple of years later, I got myself an iPad mini. And you might have seen it in the Slime VR video, that particular iPad. So in that iPad, I've done jailbreaking again because I don't really see the reason why not to. It was sort of a fun thing for me to play around and burn my free time and just learning about iOS in general without restrictions. And I kind of hit a mini mental roadblock where I was playing this game called Terraria. And I thought to myself, how do I make this experience a whole lot better to myself? And it turns out some games at the time do support controllers, but it was kind of a very weird sense of a driver support. It was very half-baked. It was terrible. It's like it works with Xbox controllers and then it doesn't work with any other kinds of controllers. And that's where jailbreaking kicks in again. So I've installed a tweak that supported DualShock controllers, because at the time I had a DualShock 3. So I connected my DualShock 3 and the tweak just kicked in and pretended to be an Xbox controller, and boom, I'm off to the races. Terraria. I can play with a controller now. I can just grab a small elastic band and stick the iPad to the headrest of a car and just play Terraria there. Oh god. If you have not done that in your past, what are you doing in your life? Okay, in all seriousness, well, we live in the age of people using phone clamps and stuff, and tablet clamps for the headrest, instead of using janky things like using elastics and just tie it on the headrest like I did. But to be fair, it was something of a fun experience, especially when you have Asian parents who refuses to upgrade their car in no matter what circumstances. Imagine driving a Lada. Well, not really a Lada, I'm just putting this as an illustrative purposes. But you get the analogy, it's kind of hilarious. So this iPad and the iPod had been my source of entertainment that way. And I gotta be honest, I had a lot of fun messing around with jailbreaking and stuff like that. Another thing that got me discovering the iPod is FaceTime. Sure, there isn't many Apple users at the time, but when you do finally FaceTime someone, it's sort of magical to an extent. I wouldn't call it magical at a greater scale, because at the time Skype existed. RIP Skype 07, God, Microsoft. And we still do call people over Skype at the time, but FaceTime was sort of, the hardware is already there, the software is already there, you just need to have a friend that have the same set of things in one package. And I know I'm doing a little way too much Apple shilling here and there, but let's not forget about one interesting thing that got me to being interested in doing YouTube videos, the included YouTube app in iOS. Too bad you don't see them here, because they're gonzo! The agreement between YouTube and Apple kind of died somewhere, and the app is no longer included, and I'm just like, what the hell were they doing? But nonetheless, I did figure out that you can go to the App Store to get the YouTube app. So there's that. Happy ending for me, I guess. But nonetheless, I was watching YouTube, and as you can tell, I was an iPad kid, but I could probably even call myself the iPod kid, because I started out on this iPod, and the iPad came way late. Way late. So this iPod was very much the gateway to the internet for me, because you got Safari, you got App Store, you got the YouTube app, and well, to be fair, nobody uses iMessage. And I mean nobody in my vicinity. I did not get to use iMessage a lot. But hey, at least Skype exists. I don't remember if this Skype app existed during the iPod era, but I still think of this as like my multimedia entertainment device, because I do use iTunes to stick movies in there. At least that's what I do in the past. I don't anymore because there's such things like Files app and VLC, so things have changed a lot as opposed to that time of the era where you do not have access to your own files in the system, or not even have a sandbox of it, so you do have to put it in the videos section. Well, currently there's no videos. Oh well. But I also do put musics in there, and it was kind of an all-in-one thing for me. And I will never forget the great history that the iPod has given me that led to me taking a liking to tweaking mobile devices to solve problems. So if you're new to this channel, hi, I'm Melody Valentine, I go by she, her, and I love tweaking stuff to solve problems. Primarily to solve problems, not exactly to discover things, but it does let me discover things at times. But nonetheless, if you guys have any interesting stories about the iPod, please let me know in the comments below. Or maybe, I don't know, share some stuff that you do with the iPod back in your days, because I've just talked about what I've done with my iPod back in my days, so why don't you? Otherwise, be sure to like, subscribe, and I hope you enjoyed this little story time about this iPod. And I'm terribly sorry that this video is a very simple video. I initially had a very big project for a video, but unfortunately that went catastrophically terrible, and I had to change course. So hopefully this buys me time to solve some of the issues before I actually come back and make a video about it. But yeah, with that said, thank you all so much for watching. Otsumero deshita. I've got more story times, so see ya. Yeet! How the hell are you still alive? Oh. Oh. Oh, that's satisfying. Holy crap.